How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the long game. Damon Serafino here with
Clay Barrow.
Clay. How are you doing today?
I'm good, man. I'm excited to get into what we have to talk about today.
All right.
I'm pumped.
This last week, I was on a little youth retreat, okay?
Okay.
You were in youth group when you were a kid?
I was, yeah.
Youth group, okay.
Totally.
Did you ever, like, take any sketchy bus ever or, like, vehicle anywhere? Or, like, you know, like the little church van or anything like that?
I don't remember. Well, actually, I remember we would carpool with our youth leaders.
Okay.
And I always wanted to go with this one guy, Colby, shout out. And he would listen to Christian rap the whole time. And like crazy. He was into like metal and stuff too. So that was an experience for sure. He was a fun dude.
Okay.
But no crazy buses or anything.
Crazy buses
No
or anything?
sketchy buses or anything.
Okay. I know when I was at a different church I was at, they would like rent buses because there was just so many students. So like, but going up into the mountains in like a giant like bus is that's just sketchy to watch. Okay, I was grateful I was in charge of bringing all the supplies up in the pickup truck, and that was probably sketch enough for me. And my friend Reese, shout out Reese as well.
Wait, he was here?
No, not here.
Not that. Okay.
But at the last church I was at, and he rigged it was all him. I can't take any credit for it. We rigged a basketball hoop like built to a pickup truck.
What?
Yeah, and we drove it all the way up to like the top of the mountains.
Oh my goodness!
From then, yeah, it was crazy. And then Reese has so much aura. They had called him next year, and they're like, "Yo, how'd you do that?" And he goes, "I don't know. I'm just kidding." But seriously, they had to call him because they didn't know. And I'm like, "Dude, I didn't do anything." But this last week, though, back to my main point, is that we have a bus, like a van. It's got to be from like 1998 Ford van. Guess how many miles this van has?
I'm going to guess 150,000.
Oh, my friend. 500.
Oh, my gosh.
50,000 miles.
No way.
And yeah, and it's got,
that's sketchy.
And driving it, it's every time, and then you go up anyway. So that was just my experience this week. And just praise God that I'm not dead.
You made it.
Every time I drive it, I mean, and also every time I steer, let's say you're not touching your steering wheel. Your steering wheel is supposed to go pretty straight. The alignment's so bad, you have to actively go left, right. Like
oh my goodness.
Time.
Dang. I'm glad you made it. Glad you're here.
And every time I drive it. And so I think I'm due to drive it about 6 times this summer. So prayers in the chat would be awesome.
Wow. Yeah, be praying.
Okay, should we get into our topic today?
Yeah, let's get into it.
What are we talking about today?
We're going to be talking about loving your neighbor, loving those that you don't always like, loving your enemies. I think there's some people that we love and they're easy to be around. They're humble, conversations go well, and then there's some people that are extremely difficult to be around. Those that it seems like they're out to get you or they've wronged you. They make your life harder. And so we want to talk about how do we love those people. I'm sure we can all picture those people in our mind, people that we don't always love being around, that we don't always like. How do we love them? So we're going to break it down for you guys.
I don't really have to imagine. I'm just looking right at it.
Oh, no. That's tough.
All right. Yeah. And I just think, too, it's important, too, because I think it's just like the way of Jesus' kingdom, right? Is loving God and loving people, right? The greatest commandment is to love God and then to love people the same, and so, we've received from the Father, and then Jesus' ministry is people, he leaves the 99 for the one, and there's great celebration in just the one returning home. And so, God just wants us to steward and love those who are around us, even the most difficult of people.
Yeah. I think we should start by defining who's your neighbor. Who are the people that you see every day? Who's your neighbor, Damon? Who is that?
Well, technically the people that live across the street from me, to the right of me.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. No, I would say your neighbor is the people who you just interact with. I mean, some people say, oh, it's everybody. I'm like, well, yes, but also it's like, I think it's really the people who you're interacting with every single day, right? So like literally my neighbors, but I don't know, in our culture, I don't know about you, but I don't actually talk to my neighbors, which is probably something I should work on. Probably growth edge, right? It's ministry right around me, but it's the people I work with. You spend more time with your coworkers than you do like really anyone else in your life.
True.
Your bosses, that's a big one. I'd say your family, whether even if you don't live with them, that's like, people who've known you, you've grown up with them, you lived with them for 18 plus years.
Yeah, that's what I think. It's the two main people groups. It's like your family and your coworkers.
Yeah.
Unless you work remote, of course, and don't have family here in the same state as you. But I think of those people, like those are your neighbors, the people you see every single day. You could argue your friends, but I don't know. For me personally, I only see my friends like twice a week. But yeah, mainly I think we want to focus on like your coworkers, and your family most of all, because those are the people that are your closest neighbors.
And I'd probably throw in like the barista at your coffee shop that you go to every day.
Okay.
You know, third category. Really
Yeah, the Starbucks barista. Yeah.
Now, don't put disrespect. We don't go to Starbucks. Okay. Remember, we boycott. Remember back like 20 episodes ago, we're boycotting Starbucks.
Oh,
okay?
yeah.
20
20 episodes ago. Yeah.
The long game's on a Starbucks strike.
True. Yeah. So it's like those two main people groups, you know, coworkers and family. And if I'm completely honest, I don't always love those people. It's really difficult to love those people. It's not easy. But practically, we want to talk about how do we coexist with those people in a way that pleases God. So we're going to get into it.
Okay. So
let's jump right in.
Yeah. Like, so what does the Bible have to say about this? Right. I mean, we've heard the scriptures, love your neighbor yourself, but what else does like the Bible have to say about loving others well?
Yeah, so I think that overall we see that we're called as Christians not only to love the people that love us, even sinners do that. That's easy to do, but to love the people that are most difficult to love. And that's our enemies, the people that hate us. I think of Romans 12, which talks, Romans 12:14, it says, bless those who persecute you, bless and do not curse them, rejoice with those who rejoice, weep with those who weep. So it's like, even though your enemy may not do the same exact thing, they may not be there for you emotionally, we're called to be there for them emotionally. If they're celebrating, celebrate with them. If they're sad, be sad with them, be around them. Even though they may not do that for you, they're probably never going to do that for you. But as Christians, we're called to love them and be there for them.
Yeah, mourn with those who mourn, rejoice with those who rejoice. And two, Matthew 5 is like one of the biggest examples of that, like pray for those who persecute you. We're called to love those people. Maybe those people aren't even your neighbors, right? Maybe there's just someone who's just like really bothering you and you're not, maybe they're not technically your neighbor, but you're still called to love them, to even pray for them. Which takes a ton of humility, and that really forms you more than it's for the other person, right? It's more for you in that moment.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're growing the most.
Yeah, but Jesus also calls us too for those people. It's like, man, like whatever modern example of going the extra mile, right? Where Jesus says, if instead of going with them 1 mile, go with them 2 miles. Which, if I remember correctly, it's like they were required to go that first mile with Roman soldiers could require Jewish citizens to carry their gear if they weren't in battle or whatever, and so because the Romans were over the Jewish people, and so you carry the Roman soldiers' gear for 1 mile, and even though he didn't ask for you to go a second, you carried another mile. Because like you're just called to serve, even though you're under their authority, which is so beautiful. And the same with the tunic, right? If you have 2 shirts, give with your brother and your second one, just give freely. And it's just like the most radical form of like love.
Yeah. I also think of this verse in Romans, which is, discussed a lot, talked about like, what does this mean? It's Romans 12:20-21. It says, to the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. For by doing so, you will reap burning coals on his head. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. And so a lot of people talk about, what does it mean you're burning coals on his head? What are we talking about in that? And it's that like when we treat people with kindness, God steps in. Burning conviction comes on your enemy. Basically, the Bible says you can defeat your enemy by being kind to them, by turning the other cheek, by helping them through whatever they're going through.
Killing them with kindness.
Kill them with kindness.
Yeah.
And I think that like God, he's waiting for you to choose the good of the other person. And sometimes that means, tolerating someone, listening to their conversation that you're not extremely interested in, seeing their side of things, listening to them when you don't always want to listen to them. And, I totally believe like boundaries are great. Absolutely. Set boundaries. There's some people that are life sucking that you don't always enjoy being around. Set boundaries with those certain people. But I think as Christians, we're called to, love people. I think about in college, I was surrounded by a bunch of different kinds of people that I wasn't used to being around, like people from all over the country, extroverted people, introverted people with all different degrees, career paths. And it was definitely overwhelming for me at first. Like I wanted to stay in my own bubble, hang out with the people that I always wanted to hang out with. There's some like extroverted people that would really intimidate me, like the type of extroverted people that like they always have an introverted person that's following them around and that they're introducing to everybody. And then they invite like 30 people to a party and they don't even show up to the party. They just, they're always all around talking a bunch. It's crazy. I knew a couple people like that.
That's insane.
But I found that from hanging out with those people, it wasn't always easy, But after I had hung out with them, I was like, these are my favorite people to be around. They're so fun. They're so caring, they're so encouraging. And I found that because I stepped out and I didn't really follow my boundary, I stepped out and hung out with those people, I gained so many new experiences, gained so much knowledge and wisdom. I enjoy being around these people. These are my favorite people to be around. It's just it broadened my horizon for sure. And I feel like that's a part of loving people as well, like being with people that you wouldn't usually hang out with, and you gain new perspective and grow as yourself personally by being with them.
Yeah, and like you said, and I'm just gonna say like the other side of the coin too, right? Like whether it's like Sabbath or it's like it's a season of like, it is like, there's certain times, certain seasons, as Ecclesiastes says, and sometimes like a season too, like withdrawal. Like if I just think of like people I know who are like newly married or having kids, and it is like a time to like withdraw and to like focus on like the ministry that God has like called you to, and that's also like a good thing too. So you just have to like use like discernment, and I'd say like most of the time God's calling us out of our comfort to like that story that you told in the college, but you just have to use discernment for like what time and season like that you're in. So
Absolutely. Yeah, I really I want to break down these two people groups, family and coworkers, talk about how do we deal with them when we don't always love them. And so I want to ask you, I want to focus on family first, because I know that like your family story, your perspective is very different from my perspective on things. So I want to just go through like both of our perspectives on family. How do we love family? How do we interact with them? How do we love them like God calls us to love them? So what's your perspective on things, Damon?
Wow, it's definitely different. So my family, they're not followers of Jesus, and I don't live in their house. Right. So you hear the command like, oh, like, honor your mother and father. And they're like, well, that's kind of vague. What does that mean? And I think in a Western society, it looks a little different than it did in 2,000 years ago in Israel, because I don't live with them. I'm not under their authority anymore. I pay my bills, I do my own, like they're not feeding me dinner, every night. And so, if let's say my dad was like, hey, I need you to do this, this, and this, I don't necessarily think I maybe have to, because I'm, not living under his authority. But at the same time, you have to use like discernment, like, okay, but to what point though, like, should I be serving my dad or my mom or my grandparents or whatever it is? I think part of serving them is, calling as much as you can. I know some people are like, who are really close with their parents, they're calling like every day. And I'm like, well, bro, I don't know. I don't got time for that. I got a lot of stuff going on, but I try to call a minimum like once every 2 weeks for each person, right? And I try to rotate it, or and I was really bad at first, and they didn't feel loved and seen in that. But then I made this effort to like try to do at least once a week, and it's just like greatly improved our relationship a ton. So I'd say like and like initiating, whether you're a male or a female, like initiating that like connection back home, and try to get on FaceTime too. That's like a huge difference, I'd say.
Yeah, I'm sure it could be very difficult to love them, especially as they're not believers. You don't really see them as much.
Yeah.
When you do visit them, I'm sure that's difficult being around them. How do you, I don't know, like have patience, show them God's love, even though they're not believers?
Yeah, and it's not like I love my family, right? But it's just like, and it's like any, like, let's say you like disagree on like, I don't know, whether you like chocolate or vanilla ice cream. Of course, that's like easy to remedy. You just buy both.
Yeah.
But we should have different worldviews. And so, or like kind of like think of it's like, you got, Fox News grandpa and, and your mom watches CNN, like, right? It's like, of course there's going to be like a difference in worldview, and like both opinions are good. You just have to like find the balance of maybe not talking about that all the time, or honestly just listening to what the other person has to say about said thing. And it requires Holy Spirit led patience and keeping your tongue, silent, right? Be quick to, or slow to speak, slow to anger, and quick to listen. And that's just like something that really carries me through that. And just like, but also too, you have to like, if they want to serve you, because you're still their kid, right? You have to just willingly and graciously receive that, but also to like step up and like, maybe when you're home, if you are you don't live there, do the dishes, or like just go out of your way, even if it's like your vacation rest, like go out of the way, serve them. And then the other thing I'll say is for those, like maybe you're living at home and your parents aren't believers, it just looks like serving them every day. Like those are the people you should be serving the most. And I was there. It's like, man, just doing things before they ask, keeping your room clean. It's like you're living in their house, especially if you're an adult at this point. You're an adult living in their house. Like honor their house, honor their rules. Even if you think it's stupid, you should just do it anyway, because you're living under their authority, under their house. And the Bible calls us to submit to all governing authorities, right? 1 Peter chapter 2, chapter 3, like honor everyone, love the emperor, or honor the emperor. It's like, even like the people who are like causing the worst pain and suffering on you, submit to their law, submit to what they want. And the same is in like the household, right? And so that's what like honoring your parents look like. And it's like, hey, I want you to be home by 11. It's like, yeah, hey, honor that. They don't want to be woken up by the alarm, and you just have to follow. Obviously, there's like different things. If they're telling you like, hey, don't go to church anymore. Okay, well, don't follow that. You have to use discernment in that. But most of the time, you should just be following their rules and what they want.
Dude, that was really good. That was just wisdom. Yeah. Nuggets of wisdom.
Yeah, and it's just like the life I've gotten to live, and I'm like grateful to have lived it. And I feel like those are the things. Like I struggled in moments, but when you, especially like when I wasn't a Christian and lived with them for the longest time, but in those moments of just serving them, it just like brought so much peace to the house. It brought so much joy to the house. It wasn't perfect, but it brought like just a sense of like peace of God. And that's like when you live God's way, right? Just like things work out.
Yeah. Wow.
So.
That's so great. Yeah. And for me, like I have a very different perspective from you. Like I have a really good relationship with my parents. I live with my parents. I would say overall, they're really easy to be around, not too difficult at all. But the biggest thing for me was being in college and just looking back and realizing, man, I haven't called my parents in like a month, or I haven't called my grandparents in like a month, and kind of just like hitting the restart button and being like, calling them and being like, hey, I'm sorry. Like, I forgot to call you guys. Can you give me grace? I would love to call you guys once a week, just break down, my whole entire week and what I'm going through. And they were always
about that, actually, something I thought of.
Yeah, totally.
I know you're like the kid, and you're maybe, especially if your parents like maybe are following Jesus and you're called to serve them. What serves them, and this is going to sound so stupid, they love hearing about your week. They don't want to talk about their stuff. They just want to hear how you're doing and making sure you're okay.
Facts. Totally.
So like tell them every single thing. They want to hear it.
Yeah. I keep hearing, your dad is the only person who wants you to succeed. He's like the only unselfish man who wants you to succeed in this world, because like he created you and he wants the best for you. He wants you to be like better than him. So it's like, gosh, yeah, your parents totally want to hear all about you and everything you have to say. But yeah, for me, it's just like not realizing that the busyness of life has been happening and forgetting to talk to my parents and tell them, how my life is. That it really goes a long way whenever I share how my life is going, basically. But you had such a great answer. Like, that was amazing. I'm sitting here learning so much from you. So,
okay, wait, I have a question. So you live at home, no shame. I wish I could. Because I mean, oh man, like an apartment down the road, like the one up here is like $1,650 a month.
Okay. Yeah, it's insane, dude.
Insane.
That's crazy.
One bedroom, and there's no rooms. You know what I mean? Like there's no doors, and it's just like one like 600 square foot room.
Yeah, and I know like most of our friends, that's what they're living into. Like, paying for apartments.
So there's no shame living home. Honestly, live at home if you can.
Yeah, save money.
Up. What does it look like for you to submit to like your parents' authority? Like, you're living at home, you're eating their food. I know it's pretty chill at home, but like, what do you do to like, what are like little things you can do to like serve them?
Yeah, I mean, for my mom, it's just like talk to her, like see how she's doing, have those conversations with her. Don't ignore them, but like see how their day is going. They always want to hear about me, asking me questions all the time. And so it's like sometimes it gets overwhelming and I don't necessarily want to answer their questions, but I'll give them really good answers, having patience with them. Yeah, just making sure that I'm having empathy for them. But also I'm always just making sure that I'm not taking advantage of them, I guess, and listening to them, not taking advantage of like their food or their resources and everything, saying please and thank you. And I don't know, overall being someone that's easy to live with. You talked about making sure that my room is clean and, making sure that the basement is clean. I think that my parents really enjoy having me over just because of the Bible study every Wednesday night. Like they love seeing the guys coming down and saying hi to them. So I don't know, they're not that difficult to live with. They're pretty easy to live with.
Yeah, you should never move out because they always love to give us
No,
some treats
bro.
every once in
No,
a while.
I'm
Yes.
I'm not living there for forever.
Yes,
All right.
forever.
Sorry, mom and
As
dad.
long as the Bible says going, bro, they give us those snacks, sometimes pizza. Oh,
Dude,
also like
yeah.
best pizza in Denver, whatever they get too.
Yeah.
It's just so good.
Yeah, it's really good. All right. I want to focus on coworkers now. I think that
Great.
this is a really difficult one. These are the people that you see all the time. I've been really frustrated with my coworkers sometimes. I've seen coworkers leave, ones that were some of my closest friends. I've seen job shifts happening all the time. A lot of people think that like ministry is such an easy job. It's not, it's always changing. And I think that's where a lot of burnout comes from as well. So I don't know, what's some wisdom that you would give on dealing with your coworkers that you don't always like, interacting with them, caring for them?
Yeah. I'm probably not the best person to talk about coworkers, like yes and no. I worked in when I worked in the secular world, I worked at the Big Y. It's kind of it's just like a grocery store.
Okay.
And yeah, it was just definitely really frustrating when I know God has called me to steward everything well in my life. That means no matter how bad I think or rude my manager is to my coworkers under me, or no matter how dumb I think working at the grocery store was, every day I showed up, I'm man, I'm here to serve for 4 hours, or that's my shifts were 4 or 5 hours, and how can I do everything perfectly well? I know every other teenage coworker that I worked with at the time, no one would sweep, but it was written in our thing, our contract or whatever, that that after, if there was nothing to do and you were a bagger and you had no more carts to get, you're just to sweep and clean up, keep the area clean. And granted, there wasn't the most stuff on the ground. It was pretty clean always, because there was a janitor going around. It just looked no one else did it, but I did it anyway. And every day, I'd go in and doing my stuff quickly, and I'd sweep, and everyone else would be lazy, and they wouldn't be getting all the carts, or they would be taking 25-minute breaks instead of 15-minute breaks. And I'm nope, 15 minutes, got to get back, And so I would say steward the company's time well, right? I don't know, again, it's humility. All this is loving people is humility. I've been, again, this morning, when I was reading the Sermon on the Mount again, I just feel I've been coming back to that a lot in our podcast, because the Sermon on the Mount is really the foundation for everything as a Christian.
So much wisdom, practical wisdom.
But if you look at everything, it is practical wisdom. But to receive it and then to do it well, it just requires so much humility. And it's just been humility's been my word. It's been wrecking me a lot recently. And to do those things, to go and just sweep the floor, even though you could just be on your phone upstairs in the break room, or just getting paid to do less work in a way.
Yeah, and as Christians, we're called to be the best workers, the most motivated, the most disciplined, the most caring. I think that as Christians, we're not supposed to gossip behind people's back, but praise them behind their back.
Yeah,
which isn't easy to do at all. I think it requires a lot of patience, a lot of thinking before you speak, a lot of, listening to your coworkers, being there for them. And then I find that when I have been being the best worker that I can, a lot of coworkers are wait, there's something different about you. What's different about you? Why are you so happy all the time? It doesn't make any sense in our world of everybody being angry, frustrated, depressed. How are you such a light in other people's lives? And I don't know. I just believe that so many of us Christians, we're going to be those that receive awards, and receive, employee of the week and be the best at whatever we're doing. And that's such a platform to share Christ with other people, share the gospel with other people.
that's exactly what I was gonna say. I mean, just with the customers alone. I got to tell so many people about Jesus. I don't say that to boast or anything, but just do just serving and listening to people. People were whoa, what's asking that question. It's why are you so different? And and that by the end of my time, it was a very short stint, but one of my managers was just asking a ton of questions about faith and was giving praise. And I was I don't know, I don't really care about Big Y at all, but this is just what God has called me to do in this season, and I'm just moving on to more money, better job. That's when I transitioned to starting to be a janitor at the church, which was awesome. Not having to deal with people anymore. But even though the job was way harder, it was very growing. So that was it for a secular sense. Do you have anything I don't know, for someone who's I don't know, doing the 9 to 5, or because I know you've worked, you did like the camera guy job. I don't know what else remember what else you've done, but
Yeah. I think that the biggest thing for me when life is really difficult, when there's a bunch of shifts happening, when, there's instability at work, the biggest wisdom for me is to just take things one day at a time. One day at a time, not think too far into the future. I always love to reflect and look back at the past and see all the ways that God has blessed me, all the amazing things that I've gotten to do in the past, and just sit and be grateful for that. And then also have hope for the future that those things, I'm not done getting blessed. Like God's going to bless you in the future. There's hope for the future. And I think that when we're operating out of that, life is so much easier. It's not extremely easy in the moment. Like it's going to be difficult, but for me, it's just taking those times to reflect on the past, have hope for the future, think about the things of God. Another big thing for me is making sure that I'm showing Jesus to other people. Sometimes I would rather hang out with the coworkers that I really enjoy being around, and I don't want to talk to new people, but it's taking the time, see how they're doing, see how their life is, ask them how their job is going. I think that goes a really long way, further than we think it will actually go. It's just being open to listen and talk to other people, serve other people. So,
No, I really agree with that. One thing I do, and it's, I don't say this to like boast in any way, but one thing I always do is like, so I try to show up to like our staff meetings early. Like I'll talk more about church stuff, and it's a very different job than like, bagging groceries, which was nothing wrong. I actually enjoyed it. It was kind of like, I hated it. I hated the people part of it, but man, nothing was better than grabbing carts in the warm summer days. Like like you said, I always go and like, I'll go around and like ask people how they're doing, and like, like taking time to stay late. And I just kind of like plan time for that, like talk about like, scheduling your life. And if I plan my meetings from like, 8 to 9, and then, then I plan it for the next one from, then staff's 9 to 11. Then I plan it from 11 to 12. It's like, I could just like, even if I just waited like 15 minutes, like so much could happen in those like times. And it's just like, sure, maybe it adds another hour and a half onto my day, but like I just got to like serve people in that. So that's like one thing that I really enjoy doing. Like you said, like I just want to harp on like gossip. Gossip is just like the worst thing. Don't just, we've talked about it before, but like what I do is like, no, hey, sorry, I just don't want to talk about that, and we can talk about something else, or if you want to keep talking about it, I'm just gonna walk away. Seems rude, but it's actually the most honoring thing you can do.
Absolutely.
What do you do? What have you done about like bad bosses? Maybe incompetency, rude, lacking self-awareness. Like how have you handled that? I know we've had that before.
Yeah, the biggest thing for me is I'm still fairly new to my job, even though it's been like over a year. I'm younger, I'm a younger leader, and I don't know, I've just found a lot of like, I only speak when someone's listening. If the other person's not listening to me, if they don't think I have any wisdom and they're not going to listen to me, then I'm not even going to like try to, I don't know, share wisdom with them, talk about my perspective with them. I think that a lot of people, they come into their job and they're like, oh, we should change this and change that, and why do we do this? And I think that creates a lot of friction in workplaces. But I don't know, I'll make sure to build rapport with other people before actually stepping in and, I don't know, sharing my ideas that I have with everyone. I think it all comes in the right timing when you're being patient. So yeah, I would say that's the biggest thing. Just be patient.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, relational equity is massive. I would say the other thing I'd say is like just submission, right? It's like God has put that person over you for whatever reason, whether it's to be your friend, to grow you, but like the Bible calls us to like submit to like authority, and like your boss is like your authority figure over you, whether you want them to be or to not. So whether they're the best boss in the world or not, like that's just what we're called to do.
Yep, absolutely. All right, anything else? I feel like that's good. I don't have anything else.
No, I got nothing else.
Awesome. Let's go. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. Hopefully you learned how to love your neighbor more, how to love people that you don't always want to love. We'll see you guys next week.
See ya.